Hello, Trouties. I'm so late today. I apologize greatly on how late I am. I also have to adjust a little bit. I absolutely all day thought it was Thursday. I had no idea that it was Friday. And I kind of in the back of my head was like, something's not here. I'm missing something. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something. And all of a sudden I realized that I never did a live video today. So I'll do one a little bit late. It kind of goes in with my theme of what I'm going to talk about today. Because today I'm going to talk about the top 5 things that are awesome and the top 5 things that are not so awesome about running a small business. I've been doing so for 15 years. For some of that, I did have another job, but I have been running Manic, Trout exclusively now for 6 years, I think. Am I coming up on 7 maybe? Yes, I'm coming up on 7. So I am going to talk about that today, and it will kind of tie in with one of the reasons why I'm a little bit late today, which will come at the end of today's live video. So for those of you that do not know me, my name is Sierra Bailey. I am the designer, the maker, the everythinger here at Manic Trout. And for Fridays, normally at 1 p.m. Central, I go live on Facebook, but today I'm a little bit late. It's okay if you don't catch it live, because so many of you, I think, watch them after they're live, so no biggie. We won't talk about that again. But thank you for joining me being late today. And here we go to talk about what my top 5 best and worst things are about having a small business. Should we start with the best or the worst? Let's start with the best. All right, so one of the best things is that when I was a little kid and people would ask me what I wanted to do, I think for a while I actually said I wanted to be an entrepreneur, which is pretty funny. I had a scrunchie stand at a very young age when scrunchies were in. I think they are again, but so no judgment. But I always wanted to do something creative. I even in college had a couple of majors before I finalized one and finished art school. But creativity was a path I knew I was going to go on, and I am delighted to be in a job where I am creative most of the time. And that will come to one of the things I don't like, but we won't talk about that yet. All right, so the next thing of things that I love about owning a small business is that because it's a small business and it's just me, means that I get to interact with all of you. And that is my absolute best part of this. I've actually made really good friends simply because they have found me due to my jewelry and I've gotten to know them. So when you have a bigger business, you're more in let's say the corporation, you're not talking with the people that are part of the business. Your customers are not necessarily seeing you all the time if you're in a bigger business or working in an office. But I really all of my interactions are with Trouties, and that is awesome. So that is definitely way up there on my list of the favorite things that I have about having a small business. It gives you a chance to connect with the people that are supporting you. And that's, I'm making things for you. You are, supporting me by loving them. So it's a nice big circle of happy awesomeness. The next thing that I really enjoy is the flexible schedule. Some of you knew I was able to do a live TV show for a year that I got because of being a jewelry designer for so long. And if I did not have a flexible schedule, I never would have had a chance to try and do that. So it's one also why I forgot today. I was running errands. But I really enjoy that. It gives me a chance to try other projects and to do collaborations and things like that. So I have always been somebody that I don't necessarily work well in the traditional hours. I actually am very productive and work really well kind of late at night. So having a small business allows myself to do that. I have a studio intentionally in my home so that I can do that. And I love having a small business for that reason. The next is that it really pushes my creativity because I can't say, oh, I'm not feeling it. I don't feel like designing a line because I have lines that collections that are scheduled to be released 4 times a year. So I have to create those collections if I'm feeling it or not. And I really enjoy having that push. And I love having a creative job because of that, because it kind of keeps me pushing my creativity and kind of pushing the boundaries. So that's pretty cool. I'm running kind of fast through the good things because the bad things are much more fun to talk about. And I'm sure much more fun for you to hear about. And the last is that owning a business, this is going to tie into the worst too, is a lot of different jobs and a lot of different things. So I am able to wear many hats and do many things. And I'm interested in many things. I'm not just interested in the creative side. I really enjoy the business side as well. I love spreadsheets, things like that. So owning a small business business allows you to do that. It is a wonderful way that you can kind of use both sides of the brain and you can do lots of things. That's a pro and a con. But for me, I do find having to have all of these other jobs kind of keeps me on my toes a little bit when I'm not like wanting to work on, let's say, a creative project at the moment. I can work on something that is more on the business side. I'm not as good on the business side. That's the downside of it. That when you own a creative business, there are some things, especially a really small business like my own, that you still have to be in charge of. And, like, yes, there are some things like, let's say, taxes that you can have somebody do and things like that. But for the most part, you need to be aware of what's going on in your business and you need to figure it out. And, small businesses have small budgets, so it's not like I can farm out everything. Part of what I do is that I want to stay handmade and I want to stay small. Therefore, I have to do a lot of the things that I may not be good at. So that's kind of, it's interesting. I get to learn new things all the time. And I always get to, learn how to do new things. I'm not always good at them. That's kind of the bad side. All right. So now comes the exciting part. Here are the things that that are not my favorite parts, the non-awesome parts about owning a small business. One is that it shocks people to hear this, but I'm an introvert. I am not an extrovert. I can turn it on and I can be loud and cheerful and talk, but then I need to not talk to people for 4 days after a day of being on. And that's really difficult in some parts of small business ownership. Fortunately, when I first began Manic Trout, it was before Facebook and all of the online stuff. I had to do a lot more of the going out and talking to people. It is like a luxury that I am able to now do so much from my computer that I do not have to go out and do it, because shows are not for me. I get kind of awkward as I get tired. It was really hard for me to force it. I do very few shows because I'm just not good at it. I am horrible at person-to-person sales. If I'm selling my friend's stuff, I can do it wonderfully because I usually believe in what my friend is doing and love it. And not that I don't believe in myself, but I just have a hard time selling necessarily, which is probably why these videos have really turned more into my talking about things like this or into style, because I don't want to just sit here and sell jewelry to you. It's not something I feel very comfortable doing or feel like I'm very good at. So that's a really hard part about owning a small business. It took me a long time to accept the fact that being a jewelry designer is as much about sales as it is about designing jewelry. And that was a really difficult thing for me to admit. It's unfortunate or fortunate, I'm not 100% sure, but in the arts, if you go to school for design or the arts, and I did go to art school, it's sad how we are basically brainwashed to think that selling your art is a dirty, bad thing. It's really weird. I don't know why this is taught to us, because you have to have money to live, so it's weird. But I work really hard to get over. It's the whole thing. When I was young, it was all about don't sell out. I mean, it's difficult because you do, like I said, you need to have funds and do things. So that's been a really hard time for me. A really hard part about owning the business was the artist slash marketing slash. So I have, of course, over the years thought about bringing somebody in to run the business with me. I just have chosen to not go that path. That's not the direction I wanted to go in, which worked well, because had I had a partner in New York, it would have been really awkward when I moved to Texas. So I am happy with my decision, but it still sometimes is very uncomfortable for me in a lot of ways. And there are a lot of things that I have to do that I'm not that comfortable with. That's definitely a downside. All right. The next is that kind of ties into this is the having to reach out. Part of my introvertedness is that a lot of the times I just don't want to talk to people. I can't do it. And a lot, if you listen to or read about things what holds you back from doing things, and a lot of people say fear and you're scared of the rejection or whatever. I don't even know if it's that. Sometimes I just can't get the energy up to write an email and pitch somebody. It's horrible. But these are all the really bad parts of owning a business, that when you're yay, I want to make jewelry forever, you don't really think about the I say it a lot in these videos, and when I talk to people, I'm the designing part of my job is so small. I design 4 collections a year, so I probably let's say 1 week each quarter, I am solidly designing in my head, and then 1 week of each quarter, I'm actually doing the designs, and then I'm making the samples, and the rest of that quarter, the other. Bad at math here. How many months are in a quarter? 12. So the rest of the all of those 11 9 weeks are spent doing things that are not what I thought I was doing when I started designing jewelry professionally. So that's like a downside of it. And math is a downside. All right, now that is kind of, I'm like stepping on my own toes, and I'm not saying numbers, but the fact that so many of the tasks that a small business owner, and I am smaller than a small business, because I think a small business at this point is like 5 to 20 employees. I am like a micro business. Like, it's me. I have had assistants, I've had PR reps, I have had accountants, I've had showrooms, I've had many people working with me before, and having contract people work with me, having people write in the studio with me. At one point, I think I had like 3 assistants that worked in the studio with me. But again, because of all the things that are pros to me are the flexibility and the not having to work during regular hours and all of that, I really prefer to like be alone in my studio. So I prefer to do a lot of the things, and a lot of the things I don't want to do. So, like I said, this is not everybody's path. This is my path. Not everybody chooses this way, but it all kind of goes together. But these are interesting things that I have learned that I didn't really expect in the beginning years, or didn't realize like what I'd get tired of fast. Like, I didn't realize how like exhausting shows would be to me. When I first moved to Austin, and I met many of you Trouties this way, I set up on Self Congress and did like an outdoor market every weekend to kind of introduce myself to the locals and to get out there and do something, to be involved in the community. It was so exhausting. It was also very hot most of the year, but it was very exhausting to me mentally. And I hadn't really ever done shows like that, because where I lived, there was not as much of an opportunity. And I had to have like an entire day to get my energy back. It ended up slowing me down so much. But that is an absolute negative for me of having a small business, is like the forced having to be on when you're introverted and just want to be quiet and not talk for days. All right, now the other is that I kind of have touched on this, but sometimes I have no idea what I'm doing on small tasks, but in general, I have no idea what I'm doing in a big task. And that's anybody that owns a small business. Even if you have a business plan, in the beginning of my business, when I had like kind of a rough business plan, I didn't really know what it would look like. You kind of think about 15 years away, but you don't know. You don't really know what, like I said, I've had publicists and I've had assistants, and then I decided not to. All of these decisions are just things that I am alone trying to figure out and being like, am I doing the right thing? I have no idea. So half the time, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's a lot of what owning a small business is, and it's scary as hell. It really is. It's so freaky. You really, half the time, you're just guessing. You fail a lot. That's cool. I'm very comfortable with failure, but it can be expensive. It can be draining. I've cried a lot. Those are all aspects of owning a small business. That's the same thing though with work, especially if you're striving to grow and work and like move up like the ladder. You're going to experience all of that. But the beauty of sometimes working for a company is, one, some companies you really are following a blueprint. You can go off the path a little bit, but there is a path to go and you kind of know what to do. Like if you want to be like a nurse or a teacher, you kind of have an idea of what's expected and what things you need to do. I have no idea what I'm doing half the time. Maybe I could figure that out more, but not really, because I do educate myself continuously. I still have no idea. So that sometimes is sad, and I don't have like a whole office full of coworkers to like bounce ideas off of. I have other friends in similar jobs that we will talk about things, but it's each very different. So that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because there are some times that you're like, I don't even know what to do right now. I have no idea. Mentors are good. Like I said, friends that have small businesses are good, so you can talk to each other. Yeah, it's just all part of it, part of the small business life. All right, and the last thing that is, again, this is relevant to everybody, is stress. But I have found, I remember a friend of mine from high school went into his family business. So right after college, he immediately had a large role in his family's company. It wasn't a huge company, but he managed like a large group of people, and he kind of laughed. I said to him something, because I had Manic, Trout at that time, and I said something about like, all I do is think about money, and he was like, that's owning a small business. All you do is think about like money all the time, and not like in I have so much money, but like, oh my God, where's the money going to come from? Like, oh my God, I'm going to need money for this soon. And am I going to be able to do this? And because that's, a lot, most of your job is like cash flow and figuring out where it's coming from and where it needs to go. So it is a very scary part of having a small business. One of the reasons why I like to stay, as I say, lean and mean, is because I don't have a huge amount of overhead, which is wonderful. But it's still, there are so many business expenses, and that, my friends, has led me to why I'm really late today. That is because I found out the other day I had my annual checkup, and they asked if I had things going on, and I was like, explaining some symptoms, and I am very close to having an ulcer because of stress. So I have had to drastically reduce my caffeine, and you may have heard me say from time to time that I love my caffeine and I depend on it. It's my only vice at this time in my life, and it's really hard to function on so much less caffeine than what I'm used to. I have a headache right now. I'm exhausted. I had no idea what day it was. It's all very fuzzy right now. But no excuse to not be there for the live video, and I apologize for being late. But I still arrived, Trouties. So that was... I don't think I even put jewelry on. I'm a mess. It's ridiculous. I miss caffeine so much. Mind you, I still get 2 cups a day, and it could be worse. I could get like no coffee. They could have said no caffeine, but fortunately my doctor was like, just reduce. Let's try to like nip this in the bud. It's not nipping, but that's okay, because what are you going to do? So I am wearing these earrings. Aren't these fun? They are the Far From Earth earrings. These are I can't remember the name of them, the ones that go with the yellow necklace. But I, still wanted to I haven't talked about like the business stuff in a while, and I've never really talked about like my favorite parts and not favorite parts. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation today. I think I kind of kept it a little short. They've been long lately, so I was trying to get to a little bit of a shorter one, but I love it that you guys still watch them, so thank you so much. And thank you for catching today's Friday Live with Sierra a little bit late. I will, of course, be back to normal time next week. Hopefully, I'll be a little bit more used to the less caffeine. I put these up on Facebook, on the blog, on YouTube, so if you're watching this later, you can always comment and say hello. I always read the comments and love to hear from you. I appreciate you watching. If you want to join the fun on social media, and I have been, after the videos on Fridays, I've actually been taking pictures of my entire outfit and putting them on Instagram, so that if you want to see, there are a few questions that I've had over the last year of like, what are you wearing? Like, I want to see what your whole dress looks like. So I have been taking full outfit photos, and I actually like put shoes on and stuff like that. So check out Instagram, it's Manic Trout, and of course, I'm always active on the Facebook page. But Trouties, thank you so much for watching. Please come back next week at 1 p.m. Central. And if you haven't seen the Spring Summer collection yet, it is up on manictrout.com with all the other jewelry, and have a look at it, because it is my newest work. All right, Trouties, have a great weekend. Thank you so much.